So I've decided to listen to one of the comments from my last video, and now I'm just gonna cover the entirety of Rostermania, or at least the most notable changes at least. And the first one being Shopify Rebellion. This one happened 10 minutes ago as I'm recording this, or this one was confirmed 10 minutes ago. First killer, LJ and Kofir with coach Violent Panda. Violent Panda, I feel like this should be a pretty good coach, especially, he was the coach as well, or he was under the coach Verge, who was one of the best coaches when he was playing, or according to most people at least. And with Dignitas, I feel like it went pretty well, so probably a pretty good coach to have. The whole first killer thing, yeah, it turns out he's not going over to EU and maybe play with Vitality. He's going to stay in NA. I feel like this is maybe a slight upgrade, especially, now with Violent Panda under them as well. But maybe that's just speculation. It's just hard to know how good a coach is, right? But Kofi, I feel like he really displayed top talent and probably showed the highest peak, I want to say, on SSG. Maybe because of his, maybe a bit of a distinct style that can hurt LJ and First Killer a little bit, but I imagine, their average and their peak should be higher than, the Ultimates last season. Maybe the floor could be lower. We'll have to find out, but I feel like, for sure, this is a slightly better team than the Ultimates. So I would say an upgrade, and with File Panda as well. That's cool. Well, always cool as well to see Shopify Rebellion. Next up, we have, and by the way, all of these leaks or whatever rumors are coming out of Shift. But yeah, Atomic will be playing alongside Tox and Raziers, probably, I imagine, for EU. This is a team that I feel like will probably just outside of teams making, lands out of EU. They could make it, but for me, they'd probably be just outside. Atomic was able to do it with one of the best MENA players in MENA, but can he do it in EU? I feel like his team would have to be better than this to do it. I feel like this is just outside of that, making the LAN range. But yeah, that should be a fairly good team. Next up, we have CRR playing with Joris and Oli. I feel like for Joris, this is probably a bit of a slight downgrade from the Dignitas roster we just had last year. Or, well, this year in 2025. Oli, I feel like, had a really high peak. I would say it had the highest peak on GK. Maybe some people disagree with that, but I feel like he showed the highest peak on GK. Maybe not the best average, but yeah, CRR, I honestly don't really know too much about as to how good he is right now. Not too much hype behind him at the moment, but maybe you could blame his teammates for that. Not sure exactly. I think it was Diaz he was with, and then at the end Frosty. They failed to make the World Championship or the second major, which is slightly concerning. I don't know where he's at right now. Haven't really watched a lot of Complexity Ball last season, so yeah, not sure. But yeah, not making one of the majors last year and the year before in South America as well does make me somewhat concerned as to how good this team will be. I feel like similar to this one, to the Atomic roster, but maybe slightly better. I feel like this one will be just about in or out of the LAN spots, whereas this one, I don't really see it being that likely that they're in. With this CRR Joyous Oli roster, I could see it very easily go either way. Next up, we have Archie, expected to join gentlemates alongside Oski and Nas. I feel like Archie was probably the best on average on Geek, I want to say. Maybe people disagree with that. So feel free to say your opinions in the comments. Really interested to see what you guys think about all of these transfers, really. But yeah, I feel like this is not a friendship pick, especially because, Oski for last season had left that team, when they were still called Oxygen, in favor of Ninjas in Pajamas. So I feel like, considering he had just left last season, Archie, this can't be a friendship pick, or is very unlikely to be a friendship pick. Archie, especially last year, I feel like it impressed a lot of people. The year before, most people probably saw him have a bit of a downtrend and then maybe make up for it at Worlds, but other than that, maybe a slight downtrend, and then expected that to continue. But I feel like last year he actually kind of turned that trend around a bit, especially looking at EWC and even Worlds, where Geeka made top 4, so pretty good results right at the end of last season. So he is one of those where you expect him to kind of to play well when the pressure's on, really. So yeah, this one I feel like should be making lands. I don't think this is a just outside, just inside. This is a should be making land squad. That being said, Oski and Nas, last season struggled with that a lot. So I guess not a guarantee by any means, but I do expect them to be making the lands out of Europe. Then we have Eugene teaming alongside Radosin and Mitzer. Not sure if that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Eugene, I feel like he's really a really exciting prospect. Didn't get to do too much after, that second split. They didn't play at EWC or Worlds. But I feel like everyone's quite excited about Eugene, myself included. Maybe not, the biggest superstar, but he's not that far from being a superstar. And then alongside Berdosun, who we all know did pretty well, and then Mitzer, who was on BDS. Maybe this will be the new BDS roster, I'm not sure, but Mitzer wasn't that far away from World Championship either, so pretty exciting roster. I feel like similar to the CRR Droids only one, just inside, just outside, somewhere within that range, but clearly that is a bit of a common theme here with these teams. It's a lot of just inside, just outside idea coming in, which makes me think that there will be a couple teams that you think will be just inside or just outside that just make it, and not just like a single one that you thought was just inside, just outside, because there's a lot of teams that are very close to each other, and some players moving to other regions or whatever, right? With last time we talked about Jolly going over to Falcons. So maybe EU won't be the best region for next season, as I talked about last time as well. Now we have Furia as well. Furia making a switch, opting for Swift instead of Drufinho. I really liked Drufinho, but to be honest, that last part of the season, I wasn't really watching a lot of Furia tape, mostly because they weren't really making it that far in the tournaments. You look at the Rally Major, didn't make it far, EWC and Worlds, right? So honestly, I don't even know who was the worst player. I've heard some people say it's Lost. Some people even say that it was Jan. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about this one, because honestly, I have no idea. But yeah, it seems like Swift, who, to be fair, has been really, really good, is going to replace Defino for Furia. Then we have Space Station Gaming, who have signed yet again a roster that I feel like going into the season, we don't really know how they're going to do exactly. I feel like this is another team where low floor, high ceiling, just like, the start of last season, really. With Scriptcap and Frosty, and even with Kofir, we didn't really know what to expect, especially at the lands. We really saw that, they had a low floor and a very high ceiling, right? So yeah, not sure what to expect from this roster exactly, other than they should be making the lands. Diaz has been a bit of an underperformer, similar to Oski. Not Oski, sorry, Nas. But Nas, for some reason, plays really well when he makes the land. Getting to that land seems to be a big struggle for him. Maybe Diaz will have the same thing, if they just about, make it to the land. Maybe Diaz will pop off at the land. I don't know. And maybe I've heard people say that Diaz has a bit of a threes problem. I've honestly seen a couple clips, or at least one clip, where CRR gets like, visibly annoyed at the, you can see it in the camera when he's playing at Diaz sometimes. But it should be exciting prospect. It's kind of funny how Chronic seems to be the experienced player on this lineup. Kind of funny how things have changed over time. But I feel like this roster will definitely need a bit of a coach to help them a lot here. But yeah, Reveal, was on the SSG roster, made top 8. So yeah, you expect this roster to make the lands. I don't expect anything crazy. It's one of those where, for me, they peak maybe top 8 at LAN, but I do probably expect them to be below that. To be honest, I do think this is downgrade from their previous roster for SSG, but maybe not massive. But yeah, I still expect them to make the LAN, but I don't think they're as good as the SSG of last season where they were able to win a regional. So I don't expect this team to win a regional, for example. But happy to see them prove me wrong. Lastly, we also have to talk about Stizzy going to Vitality. Vitality, we're trying to see if they could get maybe FK. I think they were talking about Drawley as well, but then Drawley ended up going to Falcons. So, two really, really good options that ended up not coming true. Instead, they've got Stizzy, which probably is the next best thing, maybe. Some people are unsure about this, but I feel like it's probably one of the best, if not the best option outside of, those two failed options with First Killer and Drawley, right? So yeah, not too bad, I would say. I think this will allow Exotic to play a bit less nervous. Exotic looked very, very nervous last season, and this time with Stizzy, I feel like he'll probably be a bit more comfortable. I don't exactly know what the vibes are going to be like, but because I don't think Exotic has really played with non-French players like at all, to be honest. Zen, of course, but yeah, Exotic has had a much longer career, so more of a thing worthy of talking about. Do I expect like massive things from this team? I'm not sure, to be honest. I feel like this team could be doing better than last season's with Monkey Moon. But I don't exactly expect them to dominate either. But I wouldn't be surprised if they win a major or something like that, or maybe even win Worlds at the end of the end of the year, or next year rather. But it's not one of those where I'm expecting it to happen. It's possible, but it's the problem for me is especially is that I feel like EU will not be as good as last season, right? So yeah, a bit of a downgrade for the whole region, but Vitality and even Carmine Corp, we were talking about it last time with Juicy probably joining them. Either of those could definitely be the best team in the world, but because EU is EU at the end of the day, but EU might not be quite the same as what it used to be. So yeah, it should be exciting to see how more of these transfers come about and see exactly what does NA look like, what does EU look like, what does MENA look like, because I feel like it's going to be really, really tight. Top NA teams, especially NRG, top EU teams, and maybe two really good MENA teams. We'll have to wait and see, but should be very exciting. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.